What started you wanting to put your thoughts, your message, your art into music? Why do you do what you
Yeah,
do?
I do what I do because it is the only way to survive for me to survive in this world. I'll take you back. I started writing like short stories and poetry
Okay.
early years of high school, around 15 years old, 16. Was really when I started going through a lot of mental health issues. Um, Basically, I was first diagnosed with depression early on. That was the first diagnosis. And then it took a couple, I think a year and a half for them to figure out what was really going on, which was my intermittent explosive disorder.
Okay.
I was diagnosed with IED at like 16 and a half. And then that's when I really started like seeing a lot of therapists and psychiatrists because I was getting prescribed a ton of medication. And then I was diagnosed with bipolar and ADD and all, the rest kind of just kept trickling in. So yeah, I started using, I had psychologist at the time. He told me that he's like, you ever like write so he knew how much I loved hip hop, right? Because I was a huge Lil Wayne fan. I loved
Okay.
like Lil Wayne was like my idol. I
Okay.
don't know why I gravitated towards his music because he's like a street artist and I didn't come from the streets, you know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
really just loved his music. So, anyways, I would tell my psychologist this, and that's what I like to do in my free time was listen to music and all this stuff. And he said, "Will you ever try writing your thoughts down on paper? Do you ever try doing that?" And I wasn't really like wanting to at first, and he kind of suggested I try that to help get these angry, violent thoughts that I was having out. And so one of the exercises he'd have me do that. And so I started kind of like, since I loved hip hop, I kind of started writing like little poetry stories. They weren't any good or anything, but like I thought they were at the time. And they helped me like, because I always loved horror movies and I always
Okay.
would watch horror movies to try to escape reality for that hour and a half.
Okay.
And it was always so like intense emotionally because of like whether it's scary or violent, it would just be like a release for me. So I
Okay.
started writing like these dark stories. And then it kind of like at like 16 and a half, 17, it kind of turned into like raps, like just little verses. And then I would start freestyling at lunch with the other like kids that would like try to rap. And it was just kind of formed into its own thing. And yeah, just long story short, just kind of started making lyrics that way. Um,
That's
and yeah,
amazing. That's really awesome. Now you mentioned in an email or in that, exchange conversation we had initially that that's also what speaks to your audience most. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Like how have people been receiving your work? What does it do for them?
yeah, it's pretty incredible actually. Because if you would have told me like the impact I would have on people through the lyrics and stories that I go through personally, that it would affect these other people that I have no idea who they are around
Yeah.
the world. I would probably wouldn't have believed you. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've heard it all. I've been doing this, professionally since 2016. 15 actually, but didn't start really making it a career until 16. But I've been doing it for quite a while now, and I've heard it all from your music saved me from suicide. Your music kept me going in jail when I wanted to kill myself. Your music kept me from harming my wife, or your music kept me from all just everything. It's wild. I mean, if I checked my inbox right now, probably within the hour, I probably got somebody saying that like, "Oh, your music has helped me in some way or saved me in some way," which is, not a brag. I am
Oh,
bragging because I think that's amazing.
yeah,
I
you
think that's
should.
amazing that
Yeah.
people can find hope through
Yeah.
just not just my music, but just music in general. I think music is so powerful, and I think there's so
Yeah.
many amazing artists out there that have fans that resonate with their music. And for me, I get a lot of the darker side of life through my fans because I have a lot of fans that are going through some real stuff, and
Yeah.
so it gets pretty dark and emotional with some of the stories that I'm told through Instagram or through Facebook Messenger. But it really means a lot to these people, and that's why I try to take as much time out of my day as I can to respond to at least 50 messages a day,
Wow.
and just try to reach out and touch these people, and let them know they're not alone. And I was in the exact same spot they were last week. I may be in it today. It's up and
Yeah.
down, and we all go through it, and we can do it together as long as we stick to a healthy mental lifestyle as best as possible.
Yeah. Why do you think that is that people find such comfort? I know you said music in general and a lot of great artists out there, but just you particular, right? Because you don't shy away from some of the very deep and dark topics. And you're saying a lot of people respond to that in a very positive way. Why do you think that is? In addition to what you just said, that you tell them you're not alone, right? In addition to feeling like, oh, somebody else gets this.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the same reason why I enjoyed horror movies, going when I was going through this stuff.
Okay.
And I still do. I think it's just, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like it's such a taboo release for them. And I
Okay.
feel like it's, I feel like a lot of us, no matter how nice of a person you are, or how popular you are in your friend group, or if you go to
Yep.
church every Sunday, we all were human beings and we
Yep.
all have dark thoughts.
Yep.
Whether it ranges from I want to kill my neighbor to maybe I want to
Yeah.
punch this dude in the face, or maybe
Yeah.
I want to scream into a pillow.
Yeah.
Regardless of the levels that you're at with your anger or whatever dark thoughts you have, we all have them. And so I think I take it, I don't think when I made music, I realized my music was darker than most music, but I didn't. To me, it's just I've always been thinking that way. So for me, it's not really dark, but I can see
Gotcha.
why it might be now as I grow older and more mature. I
Yeah.
understand why the normal minded would think that way. But my music's not for the normal minded. My music's
Hmm.
for the people that, we nobody's perfect. And to be honest, nobody's the normal minded. I think everyone could use my music, but
Yeah.
I think it's just a release for people. I think it's just an extreme release, and I think they can listen to my music and say, wow, you know what? I got such a release out of that. I don't need to go do these things anymore.
Yeah.
I was able to fantasize about these things and go through these things by listening to skits. And now I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. I got
Yeah.
my rage out by screaming in my bedroom to his music or driving in the car and, listening to it or, whatever it is. So I think
Yeah.
that's why people gravitate towards it. And I think it's real. Like I get really deep on topics and a
Yeah.
lot of artists, especially in hip hop, don't touch on those topics. And I think it's kind of rare, so I think they gravitated because of
Yeah.
that reason too.
Mm.
So,
You
yeah,
touched on something really interesting. You to make it genre specific. I don't know, even within hip hop, there's a lot of subgenres, and I'm learning as I go about the whole world of rap and hip hop. But I agree with you. Even when it comes to that type of genre, it's not as known to be the style that will talk about the hard and the heavy, right? It'll talk about bad stuff in the sense of, the things people want to do and lust after, right? The greed and the money and the sex and the drugs. But it almost, at least that's been my perception in the past, unless it's like faith based or whatnot. It often would touch on it in a more glorifying way, almost like that's what you want to pursue. But it didn't really shed light on the dark side of us, but also the skill level you brought in with your cadence flow and the way you emphasize some of those vowels. I was mind blown. I just kept getting better and better. Has that refined as you've just been practicing? Have you always had that skill? How does that come out of you, I guess?
yeah. It's a good question. Honestly, it's weird. Sometimes I don't know if I'm sure other artists could relate to this, but sometimes when I write, I don't like it's almost I don't black out from it, but like sometimes I'll write a song and I'm like, how did I come up? Like, how did I I'm just
Yeah.
like shocked. Like, and
Okay.
that's why I truly believe, like, I believe in God, right? And people
Okay.
may think I'm satanic because of my music and all this stuff. I try to stay away from the devil because the devil has tempted me so much in my life. He's given
Okay.
me so many downfalls that I would be
Okay.
an idiot to be like, yo, thank you, bro, for all the torment you've put in my brain and
I
I've
got
dealt
you.
with. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, I truly believe God, like, some of this music is like, God is just like throwing in my brain and like I don't know how so sometimes I'm like how did I come up with this, but to be honest with you I was always able to write a beat, but I wasn't always like where I'm at now. I listen to my old stuff I'm like oh I was bad, I was trash. Like who likes this, like
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's because I'm my own self-critic.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know, but no, it definitely it takes years of practice. I didn't just like wake up and like, oh, I could just flow like this. No, of
Okay.
course you practice your craft and you
Yeah. You
get more
refine your skill.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you get more comfortable on the mic and all that, right? But I was always able to write a beat because I've always been in music my whole life. Started playing piano at 4, so I've always had an ear for music. I've always been able to read music. I've always been able to, stay on rhythm and all that. So
Okay.
that I've always been able to do. But as far as just comfortability on the microphone and understanding who I am as an artist and where I belong in hip hop and in music, that took years. I mean, it doesn't just happen. And if it does
Okay.
for some artists, they're just that talented. But I had to work at it. I had to practice. I had to perfect it. And yeah.
I think that's encouraging though. You in real time are putting that into your art, but you're also showcasing how you've been refining that. I think that's awesome. Now with session 9 and with this new album, what is happening? If I may ask, with in your mind, in your heart, what are you trying to do with where you're taking your art?
Just trying to be more honest. You know, my first project was called Black Snow. That was my first album. I have albums now with Do You Hear Them Too? And you know, I have mixtapes out there, I have compilation albums, but as far as like actual studio albums, this is my fifth one. So my first one was in 2015, and that I was just trying to. I didn't know who I was as an artist at the time. I just wanted to rap. I knew I had some type of talent, and I knew it was a healthy outlet for me to record music and, you know, express my thoughts through the pen and pad. So that was like more just like trying to find out who I am as an artist. My second album was in 2016 titled Wonderland, and that was more me. I went
I
through
love
my
it.
like addiction. I was in addiction for a long time. I dealt with addiction for a very long time, and that was kind of towards the end of it. So it was very like drug heavy, addiction heavy type of music with mental health in there as well. And
Okay.
then my third album was Hollow, which was in 2019, and that was the first time I felt 100% comfortable on the microphone. I found my sound. I knew who I was as an artist. I knew the story I wanted to tell. I knew how to tell it, and that was the first time I was like comfortable with who I was on the microphone. And then I did an experimental album called Winters in the Prairie, which was more, you know, my all my music comes from my mind, but that album came straight from my heart. I was going through a breakup, all this stuff, so it was more like emotional, uh, kind of breakup, romantic type of
Yeah.
music. I was in that bag, and then now fast forward to now, Do You Hear Them Too is the fifth installment, and this one is just me, pretty much just I mastered my craft at this point.
Mm.
I know who my audience is. I know what my music does for people at this point, and I think this album's just a mature side of me when it comes to mental health in the darkest way possible. And I think
Yeah.
I tell a lot of I say a lot of things that, you know, kind of what we've been talking about. It's like just mastered at this point. So it's a lot
Yeah.
like Hollow in a way. It's a lot like all my albums mixed into one, I guess. So this one is just I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm here for, and I just want to give my listeners something to really be able to hold on to for the rest of their life and
Yo,
be proud of it.
I'm getting goosebumps because even just revisiting those album titles that you just shared and what the focus was of each, to me, I feel like you can totally see. And, you know, I don't know you personally very well. And again, thanks for your time. That's our most precious commodity. I tell people a lot of times. But even in the choice of album titles, I feel like one can see growth. I mean, even just going from words like Wonderland and Hollow, you know, I feel like you're letting people in on places of your mind and your soul to now say, do you hear them too? Which is from a psychological perspective, because as you know, that's what our channel is all about, world music, psychology. Um, that's a really powerful title. What led you to name your album like that? Do you hear them too? Because that's to me, I'm like, dang, that's good. Like that pulls me in.
Well, we all for me a lot of the times I've heard voices. I've still hear voices, and I feel like a lot of us do as well, whether it's the self-doubt, whether it's actual physical voice, or whether
Yeah,
it's your the devil and angel on your shoulder.
right.
We all as human beings have those, you know, and a lot of people deal with self-doubt, you know. So do you hear your self-doubt? Do you hear that too?
Hmm.
Or do you hear, are you a diagnosed schizophrenic? You know, it could go on any type of extreme, right? To
Right.
mild to whatever. And so do you hear them too? Are you like me? Am I like you? Am I alone in this world, or are we all in this together? Like, I feel like everyone hears something in their mind, whether it's the stress
Mm,
or the anxiety, whatever it is, something with work, your boss, your spouse, or, you know, whatever it is. And it's, do you hear them too? Do you hear it? And I
yeah.
think the answer is yes, I do. If you want to be open and honest with yourself, yeah, I do hear it. I hear the self doubt that I'm telling myself. I hear the negativity from my peers that at school, or, you know, I hear it. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much what the album title is. Do you hear them too? So
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. With this new album and with your new work now out, as reactions flow, how do you feel about those? People not just listening to your music and appreciating it as a fan, but criticizing, responding, and analyzing.
I think just before I get deep into it, I think reaction videos for just artists in general are huge. I think this new, reaction videos, I didn't really get hip to them until just a little bit ago, like
Okay.
maybe a year or two ago.
Okay.
And one is they're so entertaining. I love them. So first off, thank you for reacting to my video. That means a
Yeah.
lot to me. And anybody that chooses to take time out of their day to give my song a listen, let alone record their reaction, means a lot to me. So, um, I admire reactors, and I think you guys have so much talent in your own way to be able to dissect and try to
Yeah.
get in the mindset of these artists. I think is amazing. I love that. So I'm a nerd with it now. Now I'm on all the reaction videos. Now I'm watching them
Yeah.
all, and it's funny. It's just so fun. But
Yeah.
uh, like you said, it's also interesting and fun to see how each person interprets it in real time, right? I have fans that message me and tell me what they think of the album or how they take it, and that's cool. But to actually see somebody's first ever time reacting, especially to my music, because I understand
Yeah.
some people are probably like, "What the hell did I just watch?" So, but to be honest with you, the most of the reactors, they get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Understanding, you're not just like, "Oh, this is evil music. This is disgusting. I'm so
Yeah.
offended." I've had reaction videos like that before, and it's cool. I appreciate the honesty. No harm, no foul.
Okay.
But when I can see somebody that actually like takes away the surface level and actually like dives in,
Yep.
I think it's awesome. I've had a couple other therapists react, and I think
Yeah.
each one's interpretation is so cool to watch. And then
Good.
I also love the hip hop fans that appreciate the hip hop in it, like the bar work and
Mhm.
the double entendres and stuff like that. And you actually in your reaction, I could tell you're a hip hop fan because you were talking about the bars specifically too. And
Yeah.
so I think that's fun too to get in the nerd section of the hip hop world. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I love reaction videos. I think reaction videos are huge for a lot of artists, and I will never complain about somebody, whether it's negative or positive, reacting to my video. I just want them to give me a real reaction,
Yeah.
tell me your thoughts, and that's all I can ask for. So
I think that's awesome. As a reactor, I appreciate that for sure. What do you think it is for the viewer now, artists aside, that makes reaction videos so intriguing?
I think people want to see if their reactors reaction is the same reaction they had, maybe, or also it's entertainment. I mean, there's some reactors out there that are funny, like No Life
Yeah.
Shack. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen a couple of his stuff. He's funny, man.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys, a lot of it's entertainment, I'm sure, for viewers. But then I also think, because I have a lot of fans that are like, oh, I'm asking all my favorite reactors to react to your new song and stuff. And I'm just like, I think they just want to see, maybe for at least for me personally, they're probably like, yo, this music's so out there or so different and
Hmm.
I like it. I want to see what people think too. I want to see
Yeah.
if they have that same reaction.
Maybe it
And
goes back to that connection thing because you said this something similar about how fans perceive your music, right? It's this feeling of me too, I'm not alone. What did it do for you? What do you think it did for you? Those diagnoses you received when you found out, that you struggle with this or you have that. Do you feel like that was helpful to you to receive that diagnosis? Did it lead to more confusion for your personal development?
at the time, I was just confused. Yeah, I was young. I was a teenager. So yeah, at the time, definitely confused, but also didn't. At the time, I didn't care. I was
Okay.
so messed up in my head. I didn't like. That's why session nine. The hey Evan, how are you? How's your week been lately? And I say F you. Like that's how
Right.
I was in my sessions. I was it took me a lot to open up about. And then when I would open up, and I
Hmm.
would tell them, I want to, not to get into it, but I was some very dark stuff that I wanted
Yeah.
to do and what I thought about and fantasized about, and you know, but they would always be professional and they never got off. I've had one
Yeah.
that lost his temper a little bit with me, and we kind of got into it. I never, went back to him, but
Oh,
for the most part, what you see, the reaction of, uh, Dr. Forrest in session nine,
yeah.
that comes from my past of me saying, these crazy things that I've been fantasizing about, and they're just stoic
Yeah.
and okay, writing
Yeah.
it down, and that was it. And so then yeah, so at the time, but when I was going through that at first and I was diagnosed with these things, I didn't really know what they meant. And my family at the time they were so new to this too. They didn't understand. They just wanted to try to fix me, right? So I was getting prescribed medications every 2 weeks, every month, something new. This wouldn't work, so they put me on this, and this would make me throw up, or this would make me fall asleep during the daytime. This would make me gain weight, and I felt like the pills would make things worse. I always believed that. I still believe that. I know medication works for some people, and that's great. I'm just truly a believer of try your best to overcome or at least suppress as much as possible naturally without medication. But everyone has their own things that work for them. For me, I just felt like it made me a zombie. It made me more nuts. It made me more off the, like loose cannon. So yeah, I was just but I think everything happens for a reason. Obviously, God had these things happen to me because obviously he wants me to help other people in the world. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. Why I'm so blessed with this music career and stuff. Kind of, I still think about it. Like, I wonder, like, I think about, like, why am I thinking this way? Why am I going through this? Is this part of my IED? Is this part of my bipolar? Like, which one is this stemming from? Or of all these diagnoses, is it all bullshit? Is this just all like clinical stuff to say this and that? And I don't know. I don't know. I still have a lot to learn with it. I guess
Yeah.
we'll never like fully understand it, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
think that's the hard part, isn't it? Like that weird dance between figuring out what belongs where. And I guess it depends on a person. Some of us, we want to be more categorical. We need to figure out what box to put it in. For others, it's maybe a little easier to accept, that things are the way they are. But I can empathize with that for sure. Like, trying to figure out, okay, where does this go? Is this medication? Is this the diagnosis? Or the fact that there was a diagnosis to begin with, right? Because at the first and foremost, you're a person. That's, I think, what's awesome about your music is that you're reminding all of us about that in a very artistic way. Because obviously diagnoses will vary from person to person, and even people with the same diagnosis or the same, yeah, sometimes it almost feels like a label, I guess. They're going to behave in very different ways, right? To nobody's the same. I think that it's awesome that you found a way, a creative outlet to share your art with the world in that process, even if you don't have it figured out. Do you feel like that approach from those therapists helped, that response that you received, where they were kind of like in session 9, that stoic, they take notes? Did that help for you to bounce off of?
Absolutely. I had one doctor that I'll never forget, and I'm not going to say his name, but
Yeah, yeah.
I he was my he wasn't a psychiatrist. He couldn't prescribe me. He was just my psychologist, and
Okay.
amazing man. And he was with me, I think, for 4 years. I
Wow.
want to say 4 years. And he was the definition of like my ideal psychologist to talk to. And he was stoic like that. And he also didn't judge. And
Nice.
he would agree with me sometimes. And that would make me feel, because I was a teenager surrounded by adults that, whether it was teachers or people's parents or my guardians or whatever it was, judging me, telling me like, you're wrong, you shouldn't think this way, you can't say this thing, you can't do this. And he would be like, I understand, like, I get it. And he would even tell me
Yeah.
things like I could relate to him. And that meant, so
Yes.
like, it was almost like I was talking
Yes.
to a friend. And
Yes.
that's why, like, that's where the line, I thought I had a friend, I didn't. Like, I always thought these people were my friends growing up and stuff. They weren't my friends. My best friend was my psychologist. I was more honest with
Yeah.
him, and I was more close with him than anybody in my life at the time. And so
Yeah.
I really appreciated his honesty and his relatability. And like, he didn't feel like he was like better than me, or like an adult
That's
over a kid
awesome.
or anything. He
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like, he was my boy for an hour every other day. And so I got
That's
really
awesome.
close with them, and I would to the point where when I would feel, the intermittent explosive disorder about to happen, and I'm breaking shit in the house and I'm flipping out. Guardians would call him, and he'd talk me on the phone, and he'd be able to talk me off the ledge, and he'd calm me down, because I'd be like, oh, this is Dr. S. Like, he knows, this is my guy, man. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
disappoint him. And all the
Yeah.
things he said to work on, I said I was going to work on this week. Now it's like Sunday night, and I'm going to meet with him tomorrow, and I'm not going to have a good report for him, because I actually
Yeah.
want to improve my mental health for him, because he's counting on me, and we're going through this program and this process. It was just, it was somebody that I trusted,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel like was judging me. And I think that helps. And if I have a message for any, psychologists or anybody in that position, you don't got to be best friends with your patient, but
No, 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 no,
be
but be
have that
real.
relate yeah, be
Yes.
real and be
Yes.
honest, and don't you know, sometimes you can put the professionalism aside and say, no, I agree with you, that teacher sounds like
Yeah.
she was on some bullshit, but there's ways, but that doesn't mean you got to put a pencil in her neck.
Right. Yeah.
Let's try to
No.
do
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
that makes a lot of sense to be able to say, hey, I understand why you feel that way. Honestly, even from personal experience, having someone that shares and lets you in on some of the dark stuff. I had an experience even with a friend where personal, very deep things were shared. And the moment, as a friend, right? I wasn't her therapist at all. As a friend, I said, I have those thoughts too. Like this happens, right? It was complete just she will never forget that. And she did things in my life that I will never forget, right? It was a mutual friendship. But it was moments like that where you realize I am not alone. And that's probably why people resonate so much with your music, because you're that for them, right? You're that person where they might not know you personally, right? You're not their mentor in the sense that they can call you up whenever they need somebody. But they're learning from you. So in a sense, there's that not an imbalance of power, because there's not an imbalance. This implies something's wrong. There is that you're on a pedestal to them in the sense that they look up to you, right? They're your fans, they listen to you. But they want to do right, maybe to a degree, yeah, looking up to you to the sense of maybe wanting to impress you if they were to ever meet you, or wanting to do what you did or say what you say, right? Uh and I think that that's awesome, and I think it's true, right? We need relationship. I'm learning that in real time. I'm not a psychologist. I've worked as a therapist towards licensure. I've taught and such. I don't have the permission to prescribe medication or anything like that. But as I'm learning in real time, I keep coming back to that authenticity. I think people are really hungry for that. You're real. You're very, very real. And it's topics that are uncomfortable. But I think if we were all honest with ourselves for a moment, yep, I think many of us can be like, yeah, I get that. I can relate. And what are we going to do about it now? Um, that doesn't make me want to ask in regards to, and I don't want to give any spoiler alerts for people that have not listened to it yet, but the ending of session 9, you had me in wonder. You had me going, wait a minute, huh? Can you tell me, or can you help me a little bit? What were you trying to say?
there's three things. One thing is, yes, keep it up to the imagination, let the viewer interpret that how they want to interpret that. Two,
Okay.
for me, this mental health battle is forever. I can smile and say I'm a fixed boy. I'm gonna I'm nope. I'm a new man. Like this depression's gone out of my head, and these suicidal thoughts are gone. And no,
Right.
they're gonna be with me for the rest of my life. It's how I manage them. It's how I suppress them. All that, right? That goes for everybody. And
Right.
three, session 9 is a part of a story in my music. So 2016, my album Wonderland.
Hmm.
There's a song on there called Mr. Roger, and
Okay.
Mr. Roger, I'm not going to get into it. You can check it out. Your
Yeah,
viewers can check it out. But
I still
yeah,
want to.
yeah. And so that was the first, and but that's not in chronological order. It's all over the place. I love telling stories out of order, and I like to let the viewers take the puzzle
Okay.
pieces and put them together. So Mr. Roger was one, and then there's a multiple other song and videos that add up. Session 9 is a part of that puzzle. So a lot of the Mr. Roger mentions and a lot of the stuff like that, it has to do with other videos. The fingers crossed behind the back. The third thing it could mean is it's part of. I released a song and video called "Ready or Not" last year, and the same character, actor, everybody, Dr. Forrest is in both video session 9 and Ready or Not. Ready or Not happens after session 9, but I released it before. Session 9 is just the part one. Ready or Not is part two. So if you watch Ready or Not, you'll understand why his fingers were crossed behind his back. So it'll make sense if you watch those.
Okay. It sounds to me like I got my homework cut out for me. My takeaway is I got to listen to more of the various work that is correlated, even if it's not in chronological order. And I can see that being really fun for your audience, though, to see those is Easter eggs the right word, or those different, you know what I mean, like connections between the projects. Do you come
Mm-hmm.
up with that ahead of time, or does that just happen?
It just happens. It just happens. It's I don't force storytelling. I let it happen naturally, and
Right.
when it happens, it's a beautiful thing. I guess I could probably plan ahead of time, but that would make my music. It would give it an unorg. I make music based off how I'm feeling that day. Like if I'm writing today, how
Okay.
I'm whatever mood I'm in, a great mood today. By the way, that's why I'm smiley. Like you caught me on a great day. I'm in a great mood. So the music I would make today would probably be more upbeat, more fun, more like my song like Ghost
Okay.
on Do You Hear Them Too? But that's why my music is so up and down. It could be a love song today and it could be some crazy stuff tomorrow. And that's why the bipolar in me, the schizophrenic in me, that's shows in the music as well. So yeah, I don't plan ahead of time. I just whatever comes out comes out.
Comes in.
But then while I'm writing, like when I started, I can't remember when I was writing session 9, but when I was writing it, I'm sure it just started flowing. And I'm like, this is what we're doing. This is the direction I'm taking it in, and now this is going to be part of the story. So
Okay. Is that how you want people to listen to your music? Kind of just, like even with the new album, if you could encourage people to listen to it in a certain way, would you want them to listen to it in chronological order based on how they're feeling that day? I mean, obviously there's a point to which song you picked for which track, but what would you suggest?
however you need my music, take it the way you need it. That's once I release the music, it's no longer mine. It's the world's, and they are free to do with what they want with it. However, it helps them. I don't care if they listen to the song sped up, slowed down, out of order, track 16 first, track 1 last. It doesn't. Whatever helps you, whatever's gonna make you be able to. That's all I care about.
Talk to me a little bit about where some of these titles come from. What is inspiring them? What's
Yeah.
happening in you that you're giving them these names?
Well, track 1, Monster. I've had from other from teachers back in the day claiming I'm this and I'm that and I all this stuff to parents that message me now because they caught their kid listening to my music and they're saying you're a monster, you're the devil, you're this,
Even
how dare
now,
you.
and still?
Oh my gosh, even more now. I mean, way more now. Now that I'm a public figure or whatever, I'm more exposable. I'm out there for people to hit up and
Yeah.
to talk about. So yeah, I get that constantly. I get people constantly. I get death threats. You would love just to go down the rabbit hole of my DMs. It's ridiculous, and it's but I understand. I get it. I understand it. However, Monster. So track 1, Monster is like you'll never find another monster like me. Like I embrace that. You want to label me a monster? Okay, all right, I'll
Mhm.
give you a monster. So that's track 1. Track 2, Can You Tell?
Right.
I'm a mess. Can you tell? Like I like, am I am I making it obvious that I have issues? Like and it's just me. And that song's trying to like you. I talk about like I go to church, but the people at church don't accept me. I try to do this, but these people don't accept me. Like I'm just a mess. I'm a walking disaster, and I'm embracing it. And how about you? You too? Are you a mess like me? Like so
It
that's
kind of
kind of
works
that
with the
title.
album title. That kind of works with the album title again, right? Like, do you hear them too, right? It's almost like checking in with the listener, isn't it? Right? You're sharing your story and how people view you, but you keep going back to asking us these questions, which it really brings it opens the door for that. That duality here, right? That connection to me, at least.
I mean, the whole album's mental health related, obviously, but some of them are more in your face than others.
One
And
that
then,
I'm intrigued about, but that is almost like paradox, I guess, because as a female, I'm like, you called one of the songs "Build a Bitch." Like you are not holding back. I mean, like side note, every title is very intriguing from like the psychological aspect. I'm like, ooh, I'm coming at it with fresh eyes and that excitement of, oh, what is it going to be next? Like opening a present, going, oh, what's inside? I think that's awesome. I'm enjoying it. Just to kind of tie that back to what we said in the beginning, you're saying that has become your outlet, writing about it, because you've come to accept that you're always going to have certain struggles, but putting it in words or in song is what gives you that release. Did I understand that right?
yeah, it's my therapy. I mean, without it, like I said, prison or dead. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's my only way out. Without it, I'm exactly the person that I was on track to be and the person that I don't want to be. I do enjoy as much as certain days I hate the world and I hate looking outside and I hate looking in the mirror. I do overall enjoy being alive. And I think all of us do, no matter what. Even I feel like you can find the beauty in life somehow. And I just, so in order for me to keep going and being able to function in society, I need this music. I need the pen, I need the paper, and I need my fans now. I've related so much to them over the years, and I've built this almost family. And they, whenever I feel bad, I just answer some messages, and then we get in a conversation, and I understand. Like, I'm just like, wow, like this person's dealing with it. That means I can deal with it. And they're thinking, wow, Skit's dealt with it and he's overcoming it. I can do it. I just think we all need each other. As speaking just for myself. And
I agree.
yeah, that's yeah.
I think you bring a lot of value to that because you are not afraid to, or maybe even if you're afraid, you still speak about things that are very much part of the human plight that just don't get talked about that much, especially not in hip hop and rap. So, final question. Where are you going from here? You're just gonna, keep writing as it comes to you. What is your dream? If you could like build build your life, honestly, build a bitch, but build your own build your own life's bitch into your future 5 years from now, what would that look like? Where do you want to go?
I never cared about like being the most, well known or the most famous or the most, rich rapper artist. I'm starting to slowly disassociate myself from rapper hip hop. I'm just making Skits Craven music. And that's what it is. I'm making music that I enjoy listening to. I always said if I had never made one more cent off my music, if I didn't gain one more fan, I would be doing this no matter if I had any listeners listening to it or not, because it helps me. I need it for me. Selfishly, I need my music. So that comes first. And then I give it to the world. And hopefully it helps millions of other people, right? So long-term goal, just keep making music. I don't obviously I would like to do an international tour. That would be fun. I'd like to, knock off some accolades as far as just personal stuff, like different just different types of I love directing, right? That's my ultimate goal, is obviously directing and writing film. But I want to do new and more inventive things within my music videos. I think that would be there's just a lot of like nerd film stuff that I want to get into in the next few years. But basically, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and whatever happens from that is going to happen, whether it's an international tour or whether it's a Grammy award. Whatever it is, I'll take it as it comes. But I want to keep making music that helps me and ultimately helps the world. And that's it.
I think that's awesome. And it sounds like you're on track to do just that, man. I really appreciate your time today and just walking me through some of your work and where your mind's at. Yeah, it's unique. Like I said, you bring a very unique angle to, at least from the things that I've seen so far. And as you know, I look at, music from all around the world. So I wish you a lots of success and just, that continues to be an outlet for you and bring you peace and, help you connect with people. And I think it's awesome you're allowing them to connect with you through that as well.
Rosalie, you're a beautiful soul. I can just from this interaction, I can tell you're a good human being, and I appreciate you understanding me. And even if you don't understand me, I appreciate you trying to understand me. I appreciate you trying to understand, other people that are going through, mental illness or whatever it is. And I think you're doing a great thing for artists, like we talked about, and hopefully you can find more joy and entertainment and relatability through my music, and hopefully keep watching you react to some more skits. It's always a good time to see that. So
I'd love to. I definitely would like to check out more, especially of the newer work, but I still have to go back to some of the older stuff as well so that I can keep making those connections. I want to be able to bring that to the audience and for myself to understand. But I appreciate it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed watching session 9. It's helping me also to be more open-minded, I mean, just as a side note, I'm learning in real time. I am no expert in that field. Sometimes I'm almost hesitant to tell people, oh yeah, I got a degree in psychology or I worked as a therapist, because I feel like that too is a label, right? Kind of like diagnoses, right? You got people where it can be helpful. That's why I asked you earlier, was that helpful to you? Because sometimes those knowing what we're struggling with can be helpful, right? Because we can find a remedy. But sometimes if we're over-identify with that label or that diagnosis, that becomes our identity now. And I think sometimes that can be harmful as well, right? Because you're a person. At the end of the day, Skits, you are a human being, right? And you're having thoughts and struggles like many, many other people have. And you are special, but in a good way. You're special because you are you and you are unique and you bring something special to the table, but you're not broken. You are not broken. You're a human being and you struggle, but you're a fighter, man. Like, you're tough. Like, a couple of things you shared earlier, I thought to myself, it is awesome how you just keep going, because you've not had it easy and you didn't pick that, you know. You didn't come out of your mama's womb and were like, you know what, I'm gonna pick this and this issue and I'm gonna struggle with those thoughts. I'm gonna pick. You didn't pick that. It happened, and it sucks sometimes. Like, this is not cool. And my heart hurts for you for those days where you have to fight extra hard. But even though I don't know you personally, I just want to tell you that I'm really proud of you. Like, from human to human, I'm proud of you, brother. Like, how you keep fighting and how you keep writing and how you keep fighting those demons and doing something with it. I mean, since you were talking about, you know, Satan earlier, I'm like, that's the best way to kick him in the teeth. You know what I'm saying? Like, shut that mofo up, man. Just keep, you know, creating and do what you got to do. But you're incredibly strong, dude. You are incredibly strong. And in my mind, you're just a human being. You know, you're an artist, you're skilled. And I'm honored that you gave me a piece of your time today. You know, we don't know how much we got left. So thank you for sharing a piece of yours with me. Anyways, I don't want to go on a ramble, but appreciate your kind words. It encourages me because, like I said, I'm learning as I go. And you're a person and an artist that I feel like I can learn a crap ton from. So thank you for honoring me.
Of course, likewise, those words meant a lot, and I appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully you can find some light within the darkness, and that's, you know, just listen, just really listen and recognize how the music makes you feel, and that's all I can ask for.
I'll take that, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, Skit, so much, and I'm excited to check out more of your work very soon.
Rosalie, you're amazing. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too, man. Talk to you soon.